Yeah. Okay, now
There
we're
we go.
on. So, March 2016, GNU Radio developer call. And hand it straight off to Ben and Tom to go start with the first topic.
Okay, great. Yeah, so the big news for those who haven't seen it yet, there's a big project transition happening. I am leaving the project as the project manager and lead developer, and that's going to be taken over kind of between Ben Hilburn and Jonathan Corgan, two different roles. So Ben Hilburn will be the project leader, and Jonathan is we're calling him the chief architect. So he is completely in charge of the code, and Ben will be kind of coordinating all of the other events and happenings in the GNU Radio world. I will hopefully be involved to some extent, as much as I can in my new position, but I probably won't be doing a lot of coding. So I just wanted to get that out there because we've tried to reach people in various formats, and this is just another place for people to get that that knowledge of what's going on in the project, so you can start looking forward to new things happening and new ideas coming out. So I think Ben's going to address that in a second, what their vision is for the future of GNU Radio. I'm personally very excited to see what they're doing and to know what's going on with it, because it's stuff that me as both the project leader and kind of day-to-day developer working on the code, partly as my job and partly just as how the project was structured. I feel good about what I've done, but I think it's time to raise it to the next level of kind of management and project production skills that I think both Ben and Jonathan, in their own ways, bring a different perspective, and will bring it to the next level of expanding the base of programmers, of users, using the project in new and different ways. So I think this is really good for the project. I feel good from what I've done, and I think this is the right move to go into the future. It's not stuff that I think I'm good at, and they are. So, like I said, I'm really excited about it and happy with where the two of them have been taking things. But I think that's all I'll say at this point. If anybody has any questions, obviously, feel free to ask, contact us. But I'm going to hand it over to Ben so he can give his perspective on this.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Tom. So, as Tom mentioned, we put a lot of detail into our transition announcement that went out over the mailing list and is also posted on the website. At a high level, my immediate goals are to make GNU Radio itself more. Sorry.
Make GNU Radio.
Oh, make.
No, don't. No.
Oh my God. Trolled so hard. No. My GNU Radio has grown explosively in the last few years, and the people that we've been successful in attracting and the demographic that we have achieved a lot of success with, I think is very different than the demographic that we need to be targeting going forward. We've got all of the, well, not all of the, but we have a lot of very knowledgeable do-it-yourself hackers, wireless people, Linux people, folks who know how to kind of deep dive and deal with having to do a lot of things themselves. And that was kind of the first wave of major adoption. And I think the second wave of adoption it has different requirements, and I think it's going to be harder. And addressing those requirements and kind of changing how people interact with GNU Radio and how they approach it and how it can be used, I think is going to be really important to driving that second wave of adoption. And there's a lot of things that go into that, and it's simple things from accessibility to kind of higher level abstract concepts like making the project itself a more professional software distribution and more professional organization. And a lot of that is reflected, I think, in the leadership organization that Jonathan and I have put a lot of time in putting together. Yeah, so Jonathan, that's kind of my high-level statement about the organization and the project. Is there anything that you wanted to say specifically about the code and the software development process that you're working on?
Only that I think a lot of the things that we're going to need to do as a group to fulfill these new feature sets that we're looking toward are going to require a lot closer coordination between developers. And what we've had historically has been a lot of people working on different bits and pieces of the code and have contributed lots of great features. But I think in order to accomplish what you've described, we're going to have a little bit more forward-thinking roadmap that people are working toward, and the organizational part of that is going to be, involving a little bit more documentation on what people are working on, and some, planning around how code gets integrated and our test infrastructure and things of that nature.
All right, awesome. So if there's no questions from anybody in the call, I'm just going to progress with the rest of the agenda. Nope. All right. So my major agenda items, I want to talk about GNU Radio Conference, which is the next biggest announcement here. Go over a little bit of the website. We'll talk about this call schedule. Jonathan and I are going to be sort of changing up the call schedule a little bit. Let Martin talk a little bit about GSOC, and let Nathan talk a little bit about release schedules. So on the GRCon 16 side, registration is now live. If you go to the website, you can see the registration links. We're once again doing that through Eventbrite, and everything is pretty much ready to go. So I would like to start the marketing blitz for the conference and start really driving interest in it. The folks over at CU Boulder are going to be doing a lot of work to help us out there. But they're going to be really great, I think, for helping us reach out to companies and communities and people local to them whom we perhaps haven't talked to before. But for everyone that's already kind of in the community and knowledgeable about GNU Radio, I would really like to make sure everyone is aware this is happening. I'm sort of continually surprised by for people who don't even know that this conference exists. As an example, last week at the SDR forum, or WIN Wireless Innovation Forum, Tom and I were both there, and I felt like there were several times we were talking to people and telling them, yeah, this year is the 6th GRCon, you should come, and they're like, we had no idea that even existed. So I think despite the previous conference successes, there's still kind of a lack of awareness, and that's something that I want to really try to fix for this conference. So this conference, our max headcount is 304 people. Which is a full 20% bigger than last year. So I want to fill the seats. On a similar note, we have enough space for many more sponsors than we've had in the past. So I'm already reaching out to sponsors, and actually have already had several sponsors reach out to us. If anybody knows of people who are interested in sponsoring the conference, please tell them to get in touch. We have a number of sponsorship packages that range from, you get a booth and a sponsor talk, to really cheap packages that are just a little bit more than a conference registration for folks who want to contribute at that level. And finally, I guess in terms of the organizing committee, I'm still working on putting this together. We've had a couple volunteers so far. Putting on the GNU Radio conference, as I'm sure Tom and Michael can attest to, is a pretty significant undertaking. And there's absolutely no way I'm going to be successful doing this alone. So I kind of ran as fast as we could to get the current website up, the GRCon website up, and get registration live. The conference is, just 5 months out, or a little under 6 months out at this point. But at this point, we need to slow down, get an organizing committee together, and start putting together the program and planning events and that sort of thing. So if anybody's interested in being part of the organizing committee, please let me know. There's lots of things to do. Generally, the organizing committee, I think, has had a lot of fun in previous years. So if you have a little bit of time, you have a lot of time, if there's something you're particularly interested in working on, please let me know. My last point on GRCon is, I guess, as a note of success here, since I emailed out the registration as live link, we have 4 registrations already, and it's a pretty even mix between people attending the entire week and people attending a subset of the 3 sessions. Okay, does anybody have any questions about GRCon? Nope. All right. Well, with that, then I'd like to move on to a quick discussion about the website. So you might notice if you go actually look at the website, or the GNU Radio Conference website specifically, it looks very different from the Redmine site. So we're in the process of a complete web redesign, and we're rolling out a new system. The current GNU Radio Conference page is based on it, and eventually we'll have an entire sort of user-facing page. It's built on the same system. So going forward, we're splitting the website into kind of two separate areas. There'll be part of the website that's built on this new framework, that this new system. It's WordPress. It's customized WordPress. That's really meant to represent the community and represent the project at a high level, and this kind of user-facing content, I think, is the best way to describe it. So, to tell you about who we are, what we do, the kinds of things you can do with GNU Radio, tell you about the organization, go through events like meetups and that sort of thing. But the developer side of all of the developer content and the wikis and things that actually talk about code will go into a different system. All on the same web page. It'll be, it's not like we're going to create a new non-GNUradio.org website, but it'll be hosted in a different way. So at this point, I'll let Jonathan speak to that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, briefly, what we're planning on doing, or at least what we're going through the investigation for, is replacing sort of the mismatch we have of pull requests on GitHub and issues on Redmine, and replacing both of those systems with a self-hosted GitLab instance. And for a couple of reasons. I mean, part of it is, we'd like to have, again, a sort of a modern, professional-looking site where we do our software engineering and, where people go to learn about the software. But it's also that the GitLab software has a little bit more sophisticated capabilities in terms of coordination, for milestone planning and feature development and tracking of issues versus pull requests and things of that nature. So, we're not completely there yet. We don't have anything we can show. The main concern right now is making sure that all of the different things that would be affected during a transition, are thought of ahead of time, with plans for how that'll happen. We'll be publishing a plan for how this would occur, and inviting feedback from the developer community to ask questions about specifics that they may not see on the published plan. But eventually, what we hope to have is, if it has to do with people, it's on the new GNUradio.org WordPress site. If it has to do with the code, it's on the new GitLab site, both of which would be hosted under the same GNUradio.org domain.
Are there any questions about the website generally? No. Okay. Moving on. So the last topic that I'm going to talk about personally is the call schedule here. So kind of similar to how we're handling the website, where we're trying to make it easier for people to find information they're looking for. So if you're coming to GNU Radio and you want to learn about the community and the project and what you can do with GNU Radio and those sorts of things, you would go to our quote-unquote user-facing WordPress site. If you are knowledgeable about GNU Radio, you're a developer, you want to dive into technical documentation, you go to the new platform that Jonathan is working on. So one of the things we're going to do is kind of take a similar approach to these calls. In the past, the dev call has really encompassed both organizational project updates as well as very deep dive technical conversations. And so what we'll be doing is I'm going to run calls that are less frequent, but provide organizational updates, community updates, project updates, talk about the direction of the project, things that are working on, that sort of thing. People who are using it, major developments, and so that'll kind of be an easier route for people to join and just kind of learn about what's happening in the community. And then separately, Jonathan will be running actual developer calls. Will be more focused development discussion, so that if somebody wants to come talk about the community or the project at a high level, or things, or want to learn about major new feature development, they can join they can join the higher level call without necessarily needing to join a deep dive on code conversation. Jonathan, did you have any comments to add on that note?
Well, I didn't hear it, but I think the plan is that the call that you're going to be coordinating will be mostly externally facing, while at least the idea right now is that the engineering call would be mostly internally facing. We haven't figured out the details of how that's going to work yet. We're trying to avoid having everybody have 2 monthly things on their calendar. But the general idea is that the deep dive technical discussions for coordinated development among the group of tech leads and contributors to the project is a somewhat different audience than the people that are going to be interested in where the project is going, current events, things that are happening, etc.
Yep. Does anybody have any questions about that? There are people on the call other than me and Jonathan, right? Just double checking.
Well, so the people who have questions are probably not the people on this call.
That's probably true.
Do we,
I mean, I assume you're sort of keeping your eye on IRC. Which
yeah, I have my eye on it.
usually come in, but there's none right now.
I mean, to be fair, so far everything we've talked about are things that we previously announced. So it's also possible that people who are listening and who are in IRC have already aware. So I guess at this point, that was the last topic I wanted to cover personally. I'd like to toss the call over to Martin to speak a little bit about GSOC.
Cool. There's not all that much to say here because GSOC is fairly locked down in terms of it's very strictly organized, and right now we're in the phase where we are internally evaluating the proposals, and we'll be doing that until April 11th. By then, we will decide like how many of the proposals that came in are actually like worth considering in terms of could we find a mentor for this specific student. I can give you some stats. We had 22 proposals come in, but quite a few of those we could disqualify based on formal issues. So we have very we have very clear instructions on our wiki page on how to write a proposal for GNU Radio and GSOC, and some of them just didn't meet those minimum requirements. And something I mentioned last time is that we are also applying for Summer of Code in Space, and I haven't heard anything back from ESA yet. So I think they're still evaluating proposals. I'm sure they posted the deadline, but I have to admit I don't have it. I don't have it open right now. I'm guessing by the time we have the next call, I have some more news on that end. Also, the next call will be. Let me just look up the date. Wait a minute. I mean, so are we going back to the Are we going to stick with the regular schedule now? Or?
Yeah. I'd like to drop back to the regular schedule. So we'll have another call in 2 weeks. Then. Yeah.
Which is an iTech week. So, yeah, not quite sure about that. We'll probably make it happen. Point is, by the 14th, we'll probably also have news on GSOC. So until then, hang in tight. All the students that have written proposals, I do suggest, or I would like to encourage you to still, interact with the mailing list and IRC, do stuff, just to keep your sort of, I don't know, like your links to the GNU Radio community, well exercised, and also show us, that you're genuinely interested in the project. Okay, that's all I have on GSOC right now.
All right. Awesome. Thanks for the update. So nothing else on GSOC then. I'll hand it over to Nathan and Jonathan to talk a little bit about release schedules.
Where did Nathan go?
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you. Nathan was here a second ago. It looks like he dropped out.
All right, well, most of this would have been him, and I dropped off the call accidentally, so hopefully everything reconnected all right. Our plan for our very next release is going to be a maintenance release for 3.7.9.2. This is the usual bug fix only. We've accumulated probably another 20 or so since the .1 release, and that is, I believe, Nathan wants that for next Friday. So if you have bug fixes that you've been sitting on, now is the time to get them into the pull request queue. We have some issues on our Redmine tracker that we still have to address, and so if those things carry over too much longer, we may have to move that Friday date back. But the follow-on 3.7.10 feature release is something that I'm working with Nathan now on getting sort of a time commitment on. We're anticipating that to be somewhere between 4 to 6 weeks from now.
So when you say next Friday, you mean April the 8th?
Yes, though I need to confirm with Nathan. A lot of this is in his hands now, so I need to confirm with him that's the date he's working toward, and not 1 week after.
Yeah, that is what Nathan is saying. Yeah, release next week. So, yeah, that should be April 8th. I believe that's what I heard from him.
Yeah, that was the last date I saw from him as well.
All right, fantastic. So those were the only agenda items that I had for today. Is there anything else that anyone else had that they wanted to talk about?
I don't know if this is necessarily the right venue for it, but it has been on my mind, and that's our issue tracker. The issue tracker seems to keep growing with issues, and only every now and then do I go through it and kind of go crazy on it and try to resolve the issues or see what has been resolved and hasn't been kept up. When we get issues on the mailing list, people will report bugs, and we say that's great. But if it's on the mailing list, it's just in my inbox, and my inbox, has hundreds of emails a day. Things get lost very easily, and I think that's true for all of us here. So we push them over to the issues page, and then those issues just sit there, and that has been one of the things that I've been focused on. Not really focused, but it's one of the things that I've taken on myself, because if nobody else addresses it, then eventually I, see that and it gets on my. I annoy myself with seeing those issues and attack them when I can. Many of those issues are fairly low-hanging fruit. Many of them come with patches or information about what's going on. Most of it just needs validation. So it's sometimes us pushing back saying, can you provide the QA code? In some cases, I've just done that myself. So this is something that's definitely going to have to be addressed by the community and by the project. How do we manage this better? How do we get people involved in it? I think it's completely fair that most people who submit patches to us submit patches based on their own bugs that they've solved. And the issues that go into the issue tracker are bugs that they've discovered, but maybe don't have the skills or the time themselves to solve. So attacking your own problems, that's great. I can understand that that's why you want to do that, and why you wouldn't necessarily be interested in other people's problems, because obviously they're not yours. So I don't really have a good solution here, but I did want to address it and bring it up because, like I said, there's some obvious bugs that need attention, and they're fairly easy. Some of them, especially, like I just put in a few this week, earlier this week, that should be pretty trivial to solve. It's just a matter of the fact that I right now have no time to work on even those simple ones. But it would be a good way to get into the community. It'd be a good way to get some brownie points from us. But yeah, we've got to do something there to try to help us on that front.
So let me comment on that just a bit. Ben and I have an open organizational position that we've been looking to recruit for regarding owning the issue tracker and making sure that things don't just hang out forever, and that the process is followed in terms of getting things prioritized and assigned to the right people and all of that. I am going to be looking to the tech leads in the group to be responsible for their own areas and to keep track of the kinds of issues that pop up, and to sort of proactively go after people to work on those. So I think some of what you're looking for, Tom, is going to be sort of diffused into the tech lead positions. But I agree that overall we could do a much better job in getting these issues from being reported to getting closed. And hopefully the slightly better tracking capabilities in GitLab will make it really obvious where that's not happening.
Yeah, I agree. Because I think part of the issue that I've seen in the past as well is people fix bugs through pushes to our GitHub account, and that's not tied to the Redmine account at all. And some of them are. I look at those and say, hey, I think there was a pull request that solved this, and I have to go and find that and close that loop. GitLab being all close to GitHub and in style and format, I think you're right that interface will help in general. The other thing that I want to say is there's a lot of thankless jobs in open source programming and contributing code. I don't think running the issue tracker is going to be one of those. I think you will get a lot of thanks from the project leaders, helping them keep track of stuff, helping them close holes and issues that people have identified in their own areas, and from Ben and Jonathan's perspective. I think it is going to be a very thankful job. So that might be something to keep in mind as well, that you're not just doing this as a kind of a boring side job, that this is actually quite important to the overall life of the project.
All right. Thanks, Tom. Thanks, Jonathan. Jonathan, on that note, were there any actual, thinking back to the organization, were there any other open positions, especially in the development team, that you wanted to highlight?
I think right now, clearly with Tom, with you leaving, there's a lot of knowledge about our GR Digital set of capabilities, and we're looking for someone to, provide that kind of both technical knowledge as well as leadership in figuring out where we should be taking that set of features. So that position, the tech lead for our digital feature set, is something that we're hoping to recruit for sooner rather than later. There's a few other open things, and I would have to go over our org chart to try to prioritize them, but that's the one that jumps to mind most quickly.
And if I can say one thing on that, so I have been working, and Jonathan has helped and been following this, on restructuring how we do burst packet communications in GR Digital. I've made, I think, a lot of progress on there. There's effectively one issue. It's a major issue, but like one final issue, I think, to work out. And once I have that, I should be able to do over-the-air tests and make sure that that's all solid. The sooner we can get somebody in that position, the sooner I can bring them, or the better I can find the time to bring them up to speed on what's been done, and this new, the new tools and capabilities that we've been putting into this branch that we've been working on for a while. And it would also help me to just have somebody else knowledgeable in there to be able to bounce some of the ideas off of, because this last timing problem that I've got is proving to be fairly tricky. So yeah, I think that would help the transition and just kind of solving this last piece of the puzzle for everybody.
That reminds me, I was going to deliver something for you.
Oh yeah, Actually, I haven't pushed you on that because the real issue, I think, comes from slightly farther up the chain to provide better input for the timing.
You want to just have a 5-minute chat after this call?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay, awesome. Were there any other topics anybody had to discuss? No? So the one thing I'll add is we're going to be rolling out the new website, both the WordPress, kind of user-facing stuff, as well as Jonathan working on the technical side of things. If anybody would like to get involved in providing feedback and sort of beta testing things, please let us know. There'll probably be a few hiccups as we get everything transitioned over. So if you notice anything that looks like it might be misbehaving, ping us on IRC or email or something else, and let us know you spotted something. Otherwise, that's all I had. Martin, I'll pass it back to you to take the call and finish it up if you like.
So yeah, there's nothing else to discuss really. Phil is having a coughing fit. Yeah, I think it was a pretty good and efficient call. I'm sorry for the delay. One day we'll figure it out. Technical issues. You'll find this call again on YouTube on the usual spot, and yeah, that's it. So thanks everyone for joining. Bye bye.